Welcome to In Bed with Angela, the podcast where we talk spiritual business, energetic discernment, psychic experiences, healing, leadership, and all the things nobody warns you about when you actually become a healer. So I'm Angela. I'm a psychic medium, energy practitioner, and founder of Solar Channeling, and your host for tonight's transmission. And today we're going to talk about the signs that someone is going to be actually a really difficult client. And sometimes they don't even become a client because your discernment already catches on before a transaction even kind of happens. Now, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in spiritual business is this. Not every person who wants access to you is actually going to be aligned with whatever your offer is. And sometimes your body or your nervous system knows before your mind actually does. Some people come for transformation, and some people are just looking for emotionally outsourcing, almost like outsourcing their power. So, in my personal experience, I used to kind of like ignore my intuition in regards to like I would have people like DMing me or emailing me or inquiring. I'd sometimes have people like hop into like when I used to go live on like Facebook and TikTok and things. And they'd just like randomly just put a question in. They would even like say hello to me, like say this wasn't a live, or they'd just like dump their questions on me or ask me for like a free reading, right? And yeah, they didn't even like follow me. Like, yeah. And also, when you first kind of start, you think that you're here to help like everybody and you want to help everybody. But the truth is that you're not actually meant for everybody. And they're not meant for you either. Right? And that usually comes from like having like past trauma around like people pleasing, trying to please our parents when we were younger, you know, trying to get recognition and attention from them, perhaps when we actually didn't get that. And we can carry this over into adulthood, right? And think that we, should just help everybody. And also over giving, right? You know, you might charge, say, $100 for like an hour-long reading, and you'll go to do it, and it will be like 2 hours or something. Like, what are you doing? You wouldn't go to a doctor or say book in for like, I don't know, to get your nails done and stuff. And you might have like booked in for like half an hour or something, right? And it's going to cost you however much it is. They're not going to go over their time. So why should you? Right? And I actually learned discernment the hard way. I had a lot of people like constantly like messaging me at the drop of a hat, just wanting me to like tune in. And I might have been busy doing something. I could have been at the supermarket. I could have been like had an appointment with somebody else, you know, or cooking dinner or spending time with my family, you know, whatever it was. And then expect me to answer it at like a drop of a hat, you know. But I also realized that there were people out there that also were just being or wanting to be friends with me, but it was just so they could get free guidance from me, right? And it didn't make me feel good in my body, you know? And it made me feel like nobody likes to be used, but that's how it kind of made me feel, right? So I had all these different like experiences, especially in the past 6 years of being in business, where I learned the hard way that you really need to discern like who's actually a friend, who's actually a client, because those are two very different things. Like recently, there's been a whole lot of people I've seen on social media who've set up business and they're wondering why their friends are not supporting them. And usually your friends are not actually going to be your clients. There's a difference. So you actually need to be speaking to your clients and not expecting your friends to actually support you. They may do for like a little bit, but they're not going to be there for you like long term. Now, these are some of the signs as well that you might kind of recognize when you get inquiries from people, DMs from people about, you know, what it is that you do. You may feel dread before the session. Like you'll just have this feeling of like, maybe you'll get a headache. Or maybe you'll be like, oh, this just doesn't feel good. Like in my body, I just don't really want to, you know, work with this person or before, say, a session with them. And you may have clients who are already draining your energy and they don't, before they've even booked. They haven't paid you. They haven't gone and clicked on your website or your link or whatever it is and gone and paid, booked in a date and a time. Um, and yeah, they could drain you beforehand. Like I recently had an experience I'm going to talk about, and it was on one of my old like Facebook pages, and she had like messaged me saying that she wanted a reading and things. I was like, okay, cool. And then she told me over and over again what questions she wanted answered, right? And it was kind of about relationship. Am I going to have kids with this person? You know. And she kept asking this question, and I would keep like sending her like my bank details. I would give her my website so she'd go book in and pay, and you know, and I could schedule in a time for her. And she kept asking me for that information, yet never actually moving forward and actually booking. And anyway, in the end, I had this feeling that I actually needed to block her because she just kept like sending me DM after DM after DM. I set a boundary with her. And actually, I should probably not have done this, but for those who don't know, I've actually recently come out of like a breast cancer kind of scare. I'm all clear now. I have to have radiation therapy. But anyway, I had said to her, look, I'm not actually doing any work until like probably in a few months' time, kind of thing. And she said, oh, please, 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 you know, kind of that begging, desperate energy. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, kind of, you know, she crossed that first boundary that I already kind of set. And then she just kept crossing them. Like I had said to her, look, I can't reply right now. I'm actually at work. And when I'd finished work, there was all these messages saying, are you there, Angela? Are you there, Angela? Then when I eventually blocked her, because there was no progression to her actually booking in and paying for a session. Power off. I went and, sorry about that, that was my mic and I don't know why it's done that. Because I did actually charge it overnight. So this is just going to be unfiltered, this podcast, I think. It's been a while. And yeah, there was no progression with this client. I blocked her. And I could see that on my Facebook page, there were 89. This was an old Facebook page, right? So there wasn't really a lot of people messaging me on there. I could see that there were 89 messages left on this Facebook page. 89? Are you fucking kidding me? And then she was like emailing me via Shopify. She was like trying to call me on my private number, not even my business number. Also, and I don't know if it was her or not, but for a few weeks afterwards, there was someone that kept knocking on my door at really odd hours. Like one time it was like 6:30 in the morning, another time it was, and I was on my own at the time and was not expecting anybody to come over to my house. And now I'm wondering if it's actually her, right? And this is like really crossing somebody's boundaries. It's like giving stalker as opposed to a client. Really, really bad. And of course, you know, I've ignored her, and it seems to have like died off. Like she's obviously got the message that, you know. And I had even said to her, look, I feel like we don't align before I actually blocked her anyway. And yeah, just people trying to DM instead of actually respecting the structure. Like you've already told them, you've given them the link, you've told them what to do, and they just don't do it. They just keep DMing you. And it's just a waste of energy and a waste of time to even kind of like engage with these people. And then there's also like feeling like you need to rescue somebody instead of actually facilitating for them, because it's always somebody else's job to do the work, not yours. You can give people the guidance, you can give them all the knowledge to help them, but they actually have to do the work. You cannot rescue them, you can't do the work for them. I started realizing that there's actually a huge difference between someone that actually needs support and someone that just wants unrestricted access to your nervous system or to your energy. Right. It's just people who probably haven't learned boundaries or just have like a sense of entitlement, which can actually be really yucky energetically to work with. So, some more signs that someone may be actually a difficult client, right? They rush urgency is number one. So, they want instant answers. They want it right there and then. They demand like it's a big emergency. And I've had this before where I've had people message and say, look, my grandmother just died, but they're really in like a grief space and they need time to actually grieve before they should be seeing a psychic. And because that desperate energy can actually have them quite fragile. Like it's not the right time for that. And it can actually be like emotionally like flooding before they've actually committed. So, yeah. And the second thing, of course, is boundary testing. Okay, they'll negotiate the price with you like immediately. Okay, they'll be like, oh, but this person's charging that, but that's fine. That's fine. I don't know where those other people are in their journey. I don't know what the structure of their offer even is. So if someone's negotiating and they haven't even like booked in with you, waste of time. Or they're just flat out ignoring that you even have a booking system. Or they just want special exceptions. And I always think to myself, what makes you think that you're better than anybody else? Like, why should I do a special for you and not for somebody else, right? And I have done in the past, done it for like clients that I've worked with for a really long time. Yeah, I might for them, but I don't for somebody who just turns up and think it's giving I'm better than anybody else when you're not. And a third one is they want you to decide their whole life, right? They want you to tell them what to do. It's very like a codependent like relationship that they'll try to establish with you when you actually are meant to be there to help them be in their own power and think for themselves and trust their own intuition when it comes to making their own decisions. And they will often avoid like personal responsibility. If something goes wrong, they're going to blame somebody else, right? Like you could even give them the guidance and they'll either not do it or they'll blame you if something goes wrong because perhaps they haven't really, they haven't done any of the work. It's always somebody else's fault. 4, over excess energy, excessive messaging. I just told you about those 89 messages, right? That is like, do you not have a life? Wanting free emotional labor. Yep. So many people out there are going from healer to healer to healer to healer, right? Because they want you to tell them what they want to hear, not what they need to actually know and hear. And they try to turn sessions into constant access. Like the session will be over and then they'll continually want guidance from you. And the session's just fucking done. It's over. You may have even cut cords from that session because you don't want to keep receiving like channeling information because that's just energetically draining, right? But because they think they've paid once, they therefore got like lifetime fucking access. Nobody has fucking lifetime access to you. And number 5 is your body contracts around them, right? You've got this feeling of dread. You're exhausted as fuck. You find yourself like over-explaining when you actually don't need to. Or this mental like fog and feeling of like that you shouldn't be actually connecting, or your body is like screaming like no. Okay. And sometimes it doesn't scream. Like your intuition doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers through the tension within your body. Now, this is a really important thing that I need to say, is that this isn't about calling people bad or unworthy at all. Sometimes people are simply not ready for the level of responsibility that healing actually does require. And sometimes practitioners also need stronger structures, right? If you're going to be, say you're a coach and you have like a $10,000 offer, right? Or $5,000 offer, whatever, it's in the thousands. You probably are going to need a contract of some sort, right? Not just for you, but for them. If anything goes wrong, if they pull out early, is there going to be like a cancellation type fee or have you got something in place so that, yeah, if anything goes wrong, or maybe you need to get out of that contract, maybe something happens in your life, okay? Make sure you've kind of got that all within your contract. And boundaries, really important. What hours are you actually available to talk to them? What are your actual hours of work? And what is actually included in that offer? And just stick within what your offer is actually providing for them, and or what the structure of it actually is. Intake forms. Intake forms will tell you whether a person is actually aligned to actually work with you or not. And also, if they're going to put energy into actually filling out the form, they're probably actually serious about wanting to work with you too, if they actually take the time to fill it in. And just energetic maturity. I mean, you don't really want to work with people that are like under 18 either, or people that just don't have an understanding of how energy actually works as well. And also using discernment versus judgment. We don't judge anybody, but we do need to use our discernment as to whether we should be working with somebody or not. And the truth is that we also need to discern whether somebody actually needs a session or with you, or whether they actually need like to go to therapy or something like that, okay? Or whether there's actually a better healer or practitioner or whatever it is out there that you would be better to work with. And this is actually what good clients feel like, okay? So there's a mutual respect, right? Now, often the good clients or the great clients or the people that are meant to work with you, they will just show up, okay? I just channeled that actually. They will just show up because there is a respect for your time and your energy. They will show up. They will go to your website and they'll just book in. Sometimes they don't even communicate with you. Sometimes they'll just click on the link, whatever's in your bio, and they'll go book, pay. And, there's a mutual respect for your time and energy in regards to that. Real openness. They're open to whatever you are, any knowledge, any guidance that you're going to give them. They're just open to it. Okay. Like they're not somebody that's going to come to you and you're going to give them, they want what they want to hear. They actually want you to be honest with them, and they're open to whatever it is that you're going to give them. Okay. Emotional responsibility. So there will be clients that know that whatever guidance you give them, it's their responsibility to go away and do the work. It's not your responsibility to do it for them. And they'll also trust in the process, right? So whatever comes up when you're working together, they're just going to trust in whatever kind of happens when you're working with them in a space. And they'll also have very grounded energy. Like they're not like flighty or like sitting there bawling their eyes out through the entire session. And I'm not saying that you can't show emotion during a session, but you don't want to be sitting there and it's, the whole session is kind of like that. You have those right moments where it's right and when it's needs to be a little more grounded. And the best clients don't usually arrive chaotic. They actually arrive ready. Okay? That they're ready. So, if you're building a spiritual business, discernment is not cruel. Boundaries are not punishment, and protecting your energy is not anti-service. The clearer your offer becomes, the safer the transformation becomes for everybody that's actually involved. So if this episode resonated with you, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me in it, send it to another spiritual business owner who probably needs to hear this, and follow the podcast for more of my transmissions. You can also connect with me through my readings and healings, as well as my solar channeling work. And I will see you in the next episode of In Bed with Angela.